Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special Sunday sermon. As I'm sure you're all aware, today is Palm Sunday, and we are going to celebrate this by having a message from the Blessed Mother Mary. So she is here. We've been talking with her. So let us begin. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for being followers of my son. I especially want to thank all of you for living a life according to his words. You see, I had an incredibly unique opportunity. My soul was chosen to be the mother of Jesus. Now, I had served him many times. I'd served God many times before, many lifetimes. But he selected me. He selected me because of my true, absolute love of God and my determination to serve him. I was so blessed. When I gave birth to him, I looked at him and I knew that it was going to be a very, very special life. And I was correct. Can you imagine the effect that he had on the world? Billions of people still follow his words. Billions of people still love him, still listen to what he said. Now I'm here to speak about the end of his wonderful life. He told me that there would be a time that he would be leaving. I thought he just simply meant maybe to go travel, to do something else. But no, he meant that he was actually leaving the life that we knew and understood. Now, the Christian church, and they celebrate, or I should say they commemorate, the time of the death of my son. And then we celebrate the resurrection where he returned. When we were living those moments, they were incredibly terrible. I cannot tell you the tears that I shed. I watched as they led him away. I watched as they had a trial. I watched as he was executed. I watched as he suffered. Can you imagine the grief that I felt? I knew that this was one of the most special people to ever walk the earth, and I watched as the Romans killed him. I watched as they drove those spikes into his hands. I watched as they did all these terrible things to put him on the cross. And then I watched him suffer on the cross. I watched as the most incredible individual that ever lived breathed his last breath. Even as he was dying, he displayed this incredible knowledge that humans would follow his words. He didn't yell out in pain. He watched as his world was ending, but he did not complain. because he knew this is what was to take place. You see, he knew that he had to die in such a manner so that he would be remembered. And remembered he is. We, Mary and I, watched this terrible event in person. We did not realize all that was taking place. We did not realize that he truly was going to come back to us. We did not realize that he was going to resurrect from the dead. Oh, he told us he was going to return, but none of us ever understood that this would be possible. You see, this is the only time it ever took place in the history of the earth. This is the only time that a human soul ever returned from the dead. Think about it. He had to die so that he could return. Now, we didn't understand this. All we knew was our grief. We cried continuously. We sobbed. We thought that he had been taken away from us forever, but it was just for a brief moment that he was gone. Once he resurrected, he was with us forever. I cannot tell you just the terrible emotion. As I sit and talk to you today, the emotion comes back. I felt that our world had ended, but it was just beginning. All of the disciples knew that they were to go forth and carry his words. There were many things they did not know, but they did what he wanted. They went forth and they told others of his life, of his words. Others listened to the disciples and knew that they would be punished if they followed the words, but they did it. Many were led to their deaths, terrible deaths. Many were crucified. Many were eaten by animals. The Romans thought this was fun. But the important thing is, these people heard the words of the disciples, and these people knew that they were hearing something very, very special. You see, even in those ancient times, people knew right from wrong. They knew that the words that my son spoke were the right words. They knew that his deeds were the right deeds. It is impossible to tell you the impact that my son has had on people. Now, there are those out there that turn their back on him. There are those that refuse to understand that he was truly, truly God. There are those that refuse to believe that God even exists. But you see, I am with him every day over here. You are with him every day over there. You just don't realize it. You see, there is a spark of my son in all of your hearts. That spark is the light. That spark is the way. That spark that all of you have is the true answer to eternal life. On this day, several thousand years ago, no, it wasn't this day, we know that, but it's the day that we celebrate, the day that my son rode into Jerusalem triumphant. The people knew that he was special. The religious community and the Romans knew that he was special too, but they considered him a danger to them. He wasn't. There was nothing that he spoke. You see, Pilate understood that. He didn't want to have him killed. He tried to save his life. But those in charge of the faith, of the Jewish faith, wanted him dead because they considered him a threat. Today, many Christians are still persecuted because those in power consider them a threat. Evil always considers the just a threat. But even as the ancient followers knew they were going to die, they still spoke his words. They tried to get others to follow him. And from that small beginning came a movement that you see today. Now, there are still areas of the world where people are persecuting Christians. There's no reason for that. Christians are not a threat. You see, many people seeking power in different religions have used that power to turn people against each other. That has to stop. If there is but one thing that you get from me speaking to you today, understand that everyone is equal. Understand that the human life is incredibly short, but your soul has everlasting life. I want you to use this wonderful week, this Holy Week, where you celebrate the resurrection of my son. I want you to use this week as a time of reflection and meditation. I want you all to think how you can better serve him. Very simple. Lead a good life. You hear that every week from those of us that return to speak. Follow his simple messages. Do not hurt others, and simply show love. Especially show love to the younger generation, because those are going to be your future leaders. If the children grow up believing in my son, then within generations, all will be well. If you speak against my son, tell the children he doesn't exist, then the evil will continue. There's only one chance for the salvation of humans, and that is to be kind, to love others, and to follow the words of my son. You see, we all want humans to do well, to learn, and to find faith. We worked very hard. We all returned and lived difficult lives so that humans could advance, so that humans would have the words that they needed to advance, and that hopefully future generations would follow the commands or the words of my son. You see, he's standing here and he's listening. I know that he is blessing all of you. I know that he wants all of you to live kind lives and to advance when you return home. You see, this human life is nothing but a preparation. It's a preparation for your return to heaven. Take advantage of it. Help others, show charity, show love. Show all the things that my son stood for. So I hope all of you have been able to feel my energy this morning. Now, next week, my son is going to speak. He will speak to you on Easter morning. And I know it will be well worth all of your time to listen. So thank you so much for your time this morning. I hope that I've been able to bring maybe a little hope into your lives. I know you're struggling. I know there are people that aren't helping. But simply follow his words and all will be well. So my son blesses all of you, and I thank you all for listening. Thank you so much, Mary. Another wonderful message. She's right. Next week, we will have a message from Jesus on Easter morning. I hope that you have all listened. I hope that you have spent your time contemplating. And I hope that you will continue to meditate and contemplate how you can best help others. So thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week. Goodbye.